Hello, everyone, and welcome to our fifth episode of the Team Leader Capacity Building. Uh, let's review a little bit our objectives for this capacity building. So, we have to understand our core, understand our role, and get the knowledge and skills to be the best team leaders and become experts in team management. So, I really hope that you're feeling that these objectives are being accomplished so far. And what is the topic that we're going to see today is the closing phase. So we already saw an overview of the whole team standards that include the building, the performing, and the closing. We have already seen the objectives, timeline, and tips and tricks for each one, and we have had the episode of the building and the performing, so now it's time for the closing. So let's just review the first things that we talked about the closing phase, which is the objective to provide closure to the team and the individual experience, to assess the results and the learnings, and to transition or prepare for the next experience. So basically what we're doing is just closing the team experience and analyzing what worked, what didn't, what we accomplished, what we developed. When does this happen? In the last month of the experience, when we are already preparing for the next experience if our members are continuing. And some tips and tricks that I gave you guys in that episode was bringing back the initial team goals and individual plans that you established as a team in the building phase, ensuring a proper transition and information sustainability, and encouraging your members to analyze their progress, evolution, and points of improvement when they end the experience. So we are going to get into each one of the sub-phase. So the first one is the team debrief. The team debrief has three parts: reporting on results, team development review, and feedback. So in the case of the team debrief, we're going to be checking each one, what they mean, and when they happen. Cool? And we're going to do the same with the other phases. So in reporting on results, what does this mean? Is that we are going to check our results in terms of performance, and we're going to have a report on the main learnings of the team, the things that worked, the things that didn't work. Cool. So we have to generate a report as a team and put there what we planned, what we accomplished, the percentage of this, and what were the actions that we took to get to these results, and if they worked or didn't work, so that the next team can actually review these reports and can actually understand what the main actions that they need to drive. So this can be done in the second last week of the term, for instance. So you're getting ready for the whole for the report to be given to the next generation. So we're going to have a team development review as well. So we need to review the team development goals that we set in the building phase. So what was accomplished during the team that regarding to the goals that we set at the beginning, and what are the inputs that we can have for the personal development of our members for future experiences. So our members may have another team experience in another function or in the same function, or they may even become team leaders. So what are the inputs and the feedback that we can give them so that they can have a better future experience, and what is the feedback that maybe we can have as a team, that goes to the next one. So what are the feedbacks that we can have as a team also, so with the next teams that we have we can maybe implement them. And at the same time, don't forget to take feedback for your own team management. So if you're going to be a team leader next, or if you're going to be a VP next, you can also have feedback on your own team management and improve. So these both have to happen in the last week of the terms, and it can happen during team days. So when we go to the transition part, the transition part has 4 points. So we have the knowledge and skills transition, the documents and tools transition, suggestion for the next steps, and no, that's it. Those are three. So in the knowledge and skills transition, what does this mean? Basically, we have to ensure that all of the knowledge and all of the skills that we learned and that we gathered from this experience are being transitioned for the next team. So what needs to happen? The LCPs and LCPs need to have transition team leaders as well, and as a whole core of team leaders, you need to be ensuring this transition. So we have to be transitioning the managerial skills. Okay, how do we actually implement team standards? What are the tips and tricks that we can give to the future generation of team leaders about the team standards? And you can actually host practical transition or shadowing. What does shadowing mean? Learning by doing at the same time of the other person, or actually seeing how they do it first and then try to do it together, and then just do it alone, but the other person is still like watching over you. Also, identifying the functional knowledge and the skills necessary for the functional parts. Generates a transition schedule to transmit this knowledge. So try to get a transition plan so that you can actually accomplish this. Maybe you will have a transition tool that you can check in order to ensure that everything is done. And when does transition happen? From the selection until the term starts. So for the next generation, and from the moment that they're selected, maybe your team didn't end their experience yet, but your next successor will already be selected, so you can do the transition in that moment. The documents and tools transition, this is also super crucial so that we can keep the sustainability of all the materials that were used and that worked and were useful. So we can have maybe one folder for the whole function or the whole entity maybe, and we can make sure that everything that we used is actually uploaded there. So we can have this in the first transition meeting, maybe like showing, okay, this is what we did, this is what we used, this is where you can find it, so that they know where to go when they have doubts. And the last thing is the suggestions for the next steps. So share the way forward you see for the next term for your successor. Like, okay, maybe you had plans that you couldn't accomplish so far because of the time of your team experience that it ended, or maybe you see that, okay, the evolutions that we need in this function are this and this and this. So these are things that you can have, you can transition, and also the mistakes to avoid. What were the things that you did that were a mistake, or that didn't work, and they can avoid to actually have a more effective team experience. And lastly, the individual debrief. So the individual debrief has two parts: the final LDA and the personal development plan review. This is very similar to the part of this building phase when they had the individual plan. So, okay, first we plan it individually, now we debrief it. So the final LDA, we need to remind our members to fill the final LDA and review the results. In the very beginning of the building phase, they did the initial one, and they had the results of what were the levels of their leadership development qualities. Okay, so now we need to check if they actually improved, if they developed these qualities, and what were the ones that are still maybe a weakness that they can still improve in the next experiences. So this can happen in the first week after the tournament, in the last one-to-one with your member, as well as the personal development review. So not only they had the LDA at the beginning, but they also established the personal development plan that you should have reviewed each month also in the one-to-ones. So now you need to debrief what was actually accomplished from that plan. What were the things, the actions, the goals, and the development that your member actually accomplished, and how was the performance in regards to also results. So what were the goals that they had in the functional side, and how much did they accomplish. So you can also give them feedback through this review. So okay, you planned this and you had these actions, maybe in the next time you can plan other actions that can bring you forward to this. Or maybe you accomplished a little bit of development on this quality, but you now are lacking a little bit of the other one. So maybe you, in the next experience, you can improve that other leadership quality. So this also can be done in the last one, as I told you guys. So just to wrap up the closing phase, some tips and tricks that you can take forward with your teams. So make sure you have the output of everything that you create with your team in the building phase to be reviewed in the closing phase. So when you actually have the building phase and you create your identity, your purpose, your goals, and everything, and you have the first one-to-ones also with your members, make sure that you keep this output and you keep this information so that you can actually review it at the end, because if not at the end in the closing phase, you will have nothing to review from the building phase. Then the second one is be open to receive feedback as much as providing it. So make sure that they are also not only giving negative feedback, but also for positive feedback is shared so that people can know what were the good things that they did, what are the things that maybe helped the team be more united, or maybe helped the team be more motivated to work. Like, what are the positive things that you also saw in your members can help them to implement them in the next term as well. The third one is to create a drive since the beginning of the experience so that you already have everything unified and you don't go crazy in the closing phase trying to get all of the tools and the documents together, so that you can already have one drive and your successor can have access to this. And finally, make sure that you have your members' initial LDA and PDP to compare with the final results, as we said in the individual debrief. So what is the checklist for the closing phase so that you can also check as you go? So generate the report of your team, review the team development goals, provide and receive feedback, create and transition one unified drive with the tools and materials, provide a transition to your successor of the knowledge, the skills, the managerial skills, the results, and the documents. Don't forget any of those. Ensure all your members to fill the final LDA and review the results, and review the performance development plan of your members. So guys, that was it for the closing phase. Of course, you can access again the blue book and the booklet so you can have more insights and more information. Thank you guys for watching this episode, and I will see you in the next one.